Today I'm joined with Alan and Jackie Campbell. You may know Alan if you're a part of the Ipswich Grammar School community, as he taught at the school for 15 years. This year he had to retire due to a freak accident he had at the school during the Easter break of 2015. He fractured the vertebra in C5-6 and C3-4, resulting in a compression of the spinal cord. He had surgery to fuse his vertebra and relieve the pressure, but the damage resulted in him being quadriplegic. Jackie is his wife, and she was my modern history teacher in high school. Alan and Jackie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nick. Lovely to be here.
Hi, Nick. Nice to be here.
Thank you. So, Alan, could you take us through what happened on that day?
Yeah, I just went to school in the afternoon to go and copy a couple of things that I needed hard copies for. And I was actually carrying too much stuff when I was going down the stairs at school, and I was close to the bottom of the stairs and I tripped over my feet and fell. I didn't have enough time to break my fall by putting out my hands or by rolling onto my side or onto my back. So my head hit the ground first, and I heard a crack, and then I tried to get up and couldn't move. So that's how it started.
So how long were you on the ground for?
I was down on the ground for 45 minutes. I could see the blood from my head seeping onto the ground. And then I realized I might be here a long time. So I started to relax and to slow down my breathing in the hope that someone would find me quickly, but knowing that I might not be found for a long time. So I knew I couldn't actually struggle or anything like that. So I was there for 45 minutes.
But luckily someone did find you in the end. And Jackie, so what was going through your mind at the time when you received the phone call?
Well, it was my son who phoned me. I was actually in Boona, and I was packing up. I was going on holiday the next day down to the coast. And my son was actually, Stuart was waiting for Alan to come back because he was organising a few things. He was going away. And he kept phoning Alan and couldn't get hold of him, and he was getting frustrated because he was meant to go back to Brisbane, didn't know where he was. And then he got the phone call from school, from someone at school, because they found him. And he phoned me and he said, Dad's had an accident and he's tripped down the stairs. So, of course, my first thing was he's broken a leg, but we didn't really know what was happening. So he said that the ambulance have come and they're going to take him to the PA hospital. And I said, well, why are they taking him to the PA when Ipswich Hospital's just down the road? And anyway, he said, well, actually, there's a helicopter there and they're airlifting him there. And then I realized, obviously, Stuart didn't know what had happened. I said, all right, you go to the school, then phone me and tell me what's going on, and then I'll meet you at the hospital. So I was in Boona, I drove to the hospital, and by which time Alan was there, and he had been assessed by the medical team there, and they'd established he had had fractures of his spine and that he might have some brain injury because of lack of breathing, and they don't know if there was swelling to the brain, or they didn't really know anything. They couldn't tell us anything at that stage. So, yeah, of course, we were all very anxious, and particularly if it was brain damage. Never actually thought of quadriplegia at that time. We just knew fractures and maybe brain injury. So we were all pretty terrified, but they said they would operate the next day and then we'd know more. But yeah, it's pretty scary, but you don't want to jump the gun. You don't want to get terrified when it might be nothing. But we knew it was obviously something quite serious.
So the recovery and rehabilitation process would have been challenging. But Alan, what extent did it affect you mentally?
I think to start off with, once I'd come out of ICU in the coma and they told me that I was a quadriplegic, it was a big shock. Although I knew at that stage that something before that something was really wrong. So to start off with, quite negative, just because you don't want to be in this position. And then luckily I got put into the spinal ward quite quickly at the PA and saw other people with conditions either worse than mine and sometimes better than mine, but people being pretty positive. So as a result of doing or having to go to physio every single day and to the occupational therapist every single day, you've got no choice but to become positive and to start rehabilitating yourself, whatever rehabilitation you can do. At that stage, I could not move anything below my shoulders. So rehab was very difficult, and as a result, I felt like giving up quite a few times, but never really did though. But it was very hard to start off with.
And eventually later on, you did heal more now, because I'm seeing you today and you are managing to move a little bit more than at first. What can you move at the moment?
Okay, I got a fair amount of movement in my left arm and hand. So as a result, I can scratch my face now, which is quite an important thing to be able to do. I didn't think the day would come that I'd be able to do that, but that was quite a milestone when I could eventually get my hand up to my face and scratch my face.
That's awesome.
And then I've got a little bit of movement in my legs where I'm able to pick up my foot and wriggle my toes of the left foot, and very similar in the right foot, but not as much, and yet no movement or very little movement in my right hand.
So what changes did you have to make in your home and everyday life to suit your needs?
The changes in the home, luckily the home that we used to rent out was fairly easy to modify. So the things that had to get modified was a couple of doorways had to be widened. We had to put in a couple of ramps so the wheelchair could go up and down the little steps that we have in the house. The bathroom was a big modification, and the bedroom, they had to take the carpet out and put a heavy-duty flooring down to be able to take the hoist and the wheelchair that was continuously put onto that floor. So not many too many adjustments were made at home. My adjustment was quite a big one. I suppose the first one was I needed 24/7 care, so I had to get used to meeting people that I'd never met before, and they were there to care for me. So that was a big adjustment. And I suppose the biggest adjustment was I was so used to life in the hospital, and now I was at home by myself, no nurses there 24/7, and no other patients there to be able to talk to. So a lot of the time I was actually by myself, which made it quite hard.
What advice would you give to someone who had recently had an accident with similar injuries, or someone who is helping their loved one through these difficult times?
Uh, there's so many things that come to mind. I suppose you've got to just remain positive and have a positive outlook to what's actually happening to you. Have carers that really care for you and are very positive, which I have. And the other thing is that your family are very important to you, and the family must give as much support as possible, because without them, you're not going to get very far.
And Jackie, do you have any other words?
I think from my point of view, to keep fighting, because that seems to be my role. I have to fight the system. I have to fight everyone to try and get what Alan needs, and don't give up, because if you keep fighting, you often win. And I think that a lot of people just think it's too hard, or I can't do this, but actually you can. And the main thing is to be a big, strong advocate for that person, and realize that just because there's an injury like that, we're just lucky Alan wasn't brain damaged. I think that was the best outcome, and he can still embrace life and he can be involved in life. He's still someone. He's just started doing extra maths lessons again, which is super cool, because he hated the fact that he had to give up work. And funny, some people are dying to give up work, and there's Alan desperately wanting to work. So yeah, just remember that just because you're disabled doesn't mean that you can't engage in society, or you can't have relationships and you can't communicate. The best thing for us is we just love watching the fun things that our sons are doing. So even if you can't do things, which Alan is used to being so active, you can live vicariously through your children and through other people, and you can still have good quality life.
Thank you both so much for coming in and sharing all this with us today. And you can follow Alan's recovery via his Facebook page, which you can find at facebook.com/AlanCampbellRR.